All right, man, and we're back. Kenneth, you still feeling pretty good here
Man,
today?
I'm excellent, man. We was just providing education. I can't feel no better than that. So that's us.
Absolutely. Educating the veteran
Yes, sir.
community and
Yes,
their
sir.
families. What is there better to do, right?
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
especially when we're talking about these benefits and trying to help veterans get that 100% permanent in total, right? And one strategy that veterans like to take, well, I've seen veterans apply for like 50 different things, right? It's like, let me just throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And that can be a strategy. Another strategy is actually focusing on what we call high value claims, okay? So, before we get into what conditions will qualify as a high value claim, want to talk to them about just what is a high value claim and just being able to kind of break that down for them.
Yeah. So each condition, has its level of, I guess, criteria on where it can go. Right. When we're talking about high value issues, and I think that's just a labeling that just came along. Right. It can go from 0 to 50%, 0 to 70%. 80%, 90%, so on and so forth. So there's a lot of claims that can get you to just straight to the maximum percentage, and actually get you other conditions such as a special monthly compensation. But that's another video. We'll talk about that later. But again, a high value claim is essentially a disability that can go, perceivably to a high percentage, right? There's many conditions that do so. But you obviously have to meet the criteria. But by being able to meet the criteria, you must obviously have that type of severity of issue. But there's issues that, again, in those cases where the severity may get you there based upon one, the diagnosis, but also I would say minimal. I guess not necessarily minimal, but a lower level of symptoms, right? So when we're talking about high value claims, we're talking about disabilities or issues that can get you to, again, that ultimate goal of maximum percentages based upon, specifically one diagnosis. So, or one or two diagnoses as well. So there's a list and a plethora of them, but we'll go through it here in a second. So
Absolutely. We ain't gonna give y'all every one because we'll be here all day, right? But we'll just go with the few that we know many veterans may suffer from, right? And
yeah, yeah.
one may be issues with their feet, right? Different things were associated with like foot pain. Could definitely be a high value claim. So, can you explain why that might be something, and what veterans can kind of look for as far as getting rated for that, and what that condition is actually called? Because I don't think they even call it foot pain. They have like some fancy word. It's hard for me to pronounce. So I'm not even going to say it.
Yeah, so there's a lot of there's a lot of conditions, right? When we're talking about the feet, there's so many different conditions that align with the feet. As military service members, we wear boots on a regular basis, and I'm not sure about you guys, but I was never issued boots on a regular basis, and I worked in supply. So so again, depending on your actual kind of condition of your feet, it could specifically have a diagnosis of plantar fasciitis, pes planus, just so many different types of diagnosis, hammer toes, hallux valgus. It's just so many different things that can provide this type of, diagnosis or injury. But when we're talking about the feet or high value claim, that could be something per se that can, assist you on your journey of, your disability. So this particular would specifically get you, could potentially get you to 50%, right? Based upon your feet and your feet alone, depending on the severity. Okay, your severity of injuries, right? But it's all based upon your severity. And also, obviously, it must be service connected and service related. So we must have a medical opinion that's going to provide that as well. But when we're talking about the feet, that's something that provides that extra increase or that extra boost to get you a higher level percentage, right? But again, it's all about developing that condition. So, but a foot diagnosis could be, generally, and I relaxedly say that generally, you know, uh, diagnosable due to the boots in service, due to your job in service, due to your current activities, physical training, so many different things. So again, that's one that we can kind of formally discuss, right?
Absolutely, yeah. So if you're dealing with some foot issues, that's definitely something we want to take a look at and getting that claimed. There's another one here that I've kind of heard of. I have on the list. It became really, really popular. I don't know if you like this one as much, right? But the whole thing with sleep apnea, right? I know a lot of veterans are coming up with that.
Yeah. Sleep. A lot of veterans contently try to submit things such as sleep apnea. Sleep apnea is very interesting, right? Sleep apnea is a condition that is, I guess, formally a very dangerous diagnosis. And actually, if you're not getting enough oxygen, throughout the night because of the issues of breathing, it's mainly a respiratory condition, right? Sleep apnea can really cause some issues and damage. But when we talk about sleep apnea, it is a high value claim. It can be put on a list there where, again, sleep apnea with your condition, if you're giving your CPAP, again, a sleep apnea can be something that you can perceivably say can be rated at 50%. So, but again, there's been rumors about a lot of changes in, again, the Code of Federal Regulations on how sleep apnea is going to perceivably be rated and so on and so forth. But that's something that's been kind of going around, and kind of most people are trying to check if they have sleep apnea, but you must have a diagnosis, and getting a diagnosis of sleep apnea, if you don't have it, it's pretty tough, right? So, but I mean, there's things that cause sleep apnea, and there's also secondary issues that can also flare up sleep apnea as well. So it's again, sleep apnea, that's another high value issue. But what I will say, it's not as easy as most people think. We talk about it a lot. We educate a lot in our workshops amongst specific conditions, and discuss it as well. So that's one.
Absolutely. So just because your wife say you snore doesn't necessarily mean you have sleep apnea, but it'd be something to take a look into, right?
Yeah, definitely. We'll always take a look into certain things. It's not abnormal. It's definitely not abnormal. We'll definitely be able to assist in regards to just uncovering certain ailments.
Absolutely. All right. So one last one that we'll give them. Our veterans deal with a lot, right? Physical conditions, conditions we could actually see, and different conditions we can't see, right? And some of these conditions can definitely be high value claims as well. So we want to talk about that, right? We want to talk about certain mental conditions that can actually get our veterans, rated very high, even up to about 70% there.
Yeah. Mental ailments. Mental ailments are particular, right? There's so many different mental ailments that you can be diagnosed with. Going into military service, there's a lot of different things that transpire. Some people have different effects and symptoms of mental ailments, either during service or outside of service, just due to the fact of the exposure of a human, being exposed into war sometimes, definitely wartime veterans. So with that being said, whether if it's combat related, not combat related, so on and so forth, that's another high value issue that can be something of nature, right? So most mental, again, mental ailments can particularly be rated from 0 all the way to 100%. So it's just dependent upon the severity, and that's what we want to stretch, right? The severity. People, I don't want veterans to think, oh, just because I put this in, this is what I'm going to. No, we must have an aligned issue of severity. So I want you to always take taking consideration of that. But I don't want you to eliminate, not wanting to claim something of that nature because, again, it could be high level severity, low level severity, so on and so forth. We don't know. We always want to try to uncover what's what. But again, that's where you speak with the medical professional that can possibly uncover some of those certain issues.
Absolutely. And one thing that I want to make sure we stress on too, what veterans may be concerned about when they're doing different mental conditions, as far as like major depressive disorder and different things of that nature, and they're getting that high value claim, right? They're getting 70% or they're getting even 100% for that, just that one condition. I think sometimes what veterans worry about there is that, hey, I'm not going to be able to, carry a gun. I'm not, certain rights are going to be taken away. Mm-hmm. And also if I get 100% just from mental condition, it goes from where it's permanent and total to now it's individual unemployability, and I can't even work anymore, and I'm not employable. So definitely want to touch on like some of those common misconceptions with having that as one of your high value claims.
Yeah, so we unpacked a little of that. So I think, a lot of us wrapped up. So let's unpack one thing at a time, right? When we're talking about, I guess your Second Amendment right? We want to talk about that in the sense of, again, being able to carry a weapon. That is, we must also understand, in most other countries, it's definitely not warranted. Some people can't do it at all. But here, it's a privilege that we have a right to do so. But with that being said as well, there have been so many high governmental talks about, again, weapons and not being able to carry a gun, and also being okay to carry a gun. But in regards to mental ailments, obviously the VA has the right to deemably say you can or cannot based upon a mental ailment, right? However, typically this is only applied only if you're rated something called incompetent. Okay, incompetency. And when dealing with incompetency, it typically amongst the VA's terms or the VA's criteria is typically labeled based upon a veteran who's not able to manage their financial affairs, right? Not able to manage their financial affairs or medications. So when we're thinking about, taking your Second Amendment right away, that's something that, typically with mental health, you should be fine. Okay, you should be fine. But when we're talking about legalities and different changes in law, government, being able to say yes or no, that's something that may transpire in the future. However, as of right now, I can say confidently that if you're not rated incompetent, that's something that will not be applied, which is something, again, that the VA will apply, which is called the Brady Bill, and so on and so forth. But we'll definitely kind of talk about it in another video in detail. But as long as you are not rated incompetent by your medical professional, you will not. You will have the right to own a firearm. Okay, that is kind of something that's afforded to you, right? So you did speak about a second issue there too, which I want to talk about. Right, we talked about unemployability, not being able to work, and that's something that that is labeled as in terms of the VA unemployability. What is unemployability? Individual unemployability, IU. That's referenced as the abbreviation. Individual unemployability, what it is simply stating that you cannot work based upon medical service-connected conditions. Okay? You cannot work based upon a medical service-connected condition. Okay? And that is specifically how you're approved for, individual unemployability. Obviously, there's more deeper criteria to be approved amongst that. However, when we're talking about something of that nature, if you are rated at a high value claim that where you have a singular 100%, just because you may have a mental ailment or a cancer or something of that nature, you can still have the availability to work. Okay. It is not something rated that is called unemployability. All right. So I do want to kind of assure you, if you are in the position of that, single 100% or being rated at 100%, you have the availability to work unless you are rated under something called individual unemployability.
Got it. And so, so just to make sure they know, so if you are rated for one singular issue, it doesn't necessarily mean it is individual unemployability.
Yeah, that does not. That is a total separate condition or a total separate claim in itself. Okay, so that's not something that just sprouts about. You have to go after that. However, they may solicit that possibly based on medical records or based upon your current living state. Right.
Absolutely.
But that can be solicited. It is not something that just automatically comes about.
Absolutely. So in other words, you wouldn't be applying for individual unemployability and not know about it, right?
Yeah.
So if you're applying for just compensation and they recommend that, you will receive a letter and they'll kind of go through with that and kind of let you know, hey, I feel like your conditions lean you towards this. And you have those considerations to move forward at that point.
Which, and then in turn, you would need to go ahead and submit a prescribed form on your behalf of that. There's only certain claims that you will not have to utilize a prescribed form, and that's not one of them. So.
Absolutely. Okay, so that's good. So, yeah, sometimes the veterans be worried about that. And just know if you are working with Veterans for Veterans, we will keep you abreast of the entire process and definitely let you know what we're doing and if you're going to be leaning towards that or not. Pretty much for every individual we're working with, we're going after permanent and total unless we otherwise discuss going after individual employability because of your particular medical situation.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, our ultimate goal is to be able to support the community, the veteran community, but not only that, supporting them, we want to support you in a way where we want to figure out how to maximize what you deserve, right? There's so many different things that veterans may not know. Not only do we want to be able to expose that to you here, but we also want to be able to communicate that as we're going through the processes with you as well.
Absolutely. Don't go at it alone, man. We're here for you, especially if you're dealing with any of those different issues as far as mentally. Definitely reach out to somebody. We'll actually put the VA contact number on the screen regarding that, because that is a very serious issue. We want to make sure if you're having any kind of thoughts and different things where you're dealing with PTSD, you're dealing with depression and anxiety, all those different things, please reach out and talk to someone. We have that number on the screen for you, so you can definitely seek out that help and get the treatment that you need and deserve.
Most definitely. Please, the crisis line is available, which is going to be below. If you ever, have any type of issues of that nature where it is coming and it's overwhelming and you need directed immediate assistance, please reach out to the crisis line, the VA crisis line. They will always provide that help for you.
Absolutely. Great. Well, thank you guys for watching this segment. Please provide any kind of additional feedback, like, comment, subscribe. Definitely, we're looking forward to continuing to grow this community, and we're happy that you're here with us as we continue to grow. Thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you.